Welcome to English Every Day.
The night I cried alone. It was a quiet night, the kind of night when the world feels far away. There were no cars outside, no voices in the hallway, no music playing, just silence, a deep, heavy silence that made me feel even more alone. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the floor. The only light in the room came from the small lamp on my desk. It was soft and warm, but it did make me feel warm inside. The rest of the room was in shadow, like my thoughts, unclear, heavy, and a little dark. The clock ticked slowly. I could hear every second pass, and with each tick, I felt something build inside me. A pressure, a weight, like I had been carrying something for too long, and it was finally too much. I looked around the room. Everything was in its place. My books, my pillows, my little plant by the window. From the outside, everything looked okay, but inside me, it wasn't. There was a storm in my chest, quiet but strong. It wasn't one big thing that made me feel this way. It was many small things. Small hurts, small disappointments, small moments when I felt invisible, forgotten, not enough. And on that quiet night, with no one around, no one to talk to, and no one to pretend for, I finally let the silence hold me. Just me and the night, and that's when the tears began. The tears came slowly at first. I didn't even notice them until I felt one roll down my cheek. I wiped it away quickly, as if I was ashamed of it. But then another came, and another, until I stopped trying to hide them. I let them fall. I didn't cry loudly. There were no sobs, no sounds, just silent tears in a silent room. It felt like everything I had been holding in for so long was finally pouring out. I didn't know exactly what I was crying for. Maybe it was for all the times I smiled when I wanted to cry, for all the times I said I'm fine when I wasn't, for all the nights I felt alone, even when I was surrounded by people. I hugged my pillow tightly, trying to feel something, anything that could comfort me, but nothing did. I felt empty and full at the same time, full of emotions and empty of strength. And yet, in that quiet, painful moment, something inside me felt honest. I wasn't pretending anymore. I wasn't trying to be strong or happy or okay. I was just me, a girl sitting alone in her room, letting her heart speak through tears. And somehow that felt real. I don't know how long I sat there, crying into the silence. Time didn't feel real anymore. It could have been minutes or hours. All I knew was that my heart felt heavy, and I couldn't carry it alone anymore. I started thinking about everything. The things I didn't say, the people I missed, the moments I tried to forget, but couldn't. I thought about how lonely I felt, even when I smiled in front of others. I thought about how hard I tried to be okay, to be strong, to not bother anyone with my feelings. But that night, none of those walls mattered. I was tired of pretending, tired of being the one who always says it's okay, because sometimes it's not okay. And that's the truth we don't always say out loud. As the tears kept falling, I felt something else too, a quiet voice inside me. It wasn't loud. It didn't try to fix anything, but it whispered gently, "It's all right to feel this way. You're human. And you're not alone. That small voice didn't make the pain go away, but it gave me something, permission. Permission to feel. Permission to break down. Permission to be soft in a world that always asks us to be strong. And that in itself was the beginning of healing. After a while, the tears began to slow down. My chest still felt tight, but the weight was not as heavy as before. I was still sad, still tired, but there was something different now, something quieter, softer, like a small breath after holding it in for too long. I leaned back on my pillow and looked up at the ceiling. The light from the lamp was still glowing, warm and calm. The room hadn't changed, but I had, just a little, just enough to feel a bit lighter, a bit more honest. I realized that crying didn't make me weak. In fact, it made me stronger in a quiet way. It helped me let go of the pain I had kept inside for too long, pain that I carried around like a secret, pain that I smiled through because I thought no one would understand. But that night, I didn't need anyone to understand. I just needed to feel, to allow myself to break. And when I did, I found something real me. Not the version I show to the world, not the fine version, just me as I am. And in that raw, quiet moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, peace. When I finally fell asleep, it wasn't deep or perfect, but it was real. My eyes were tired, my heart still a little heavy, but I had nothing more to hide. I had cried. I had let it all out, and somehow that made space for something new. The next morning, the sun peeked through the window. The light touched my face gently, like a quiet reminder that a new day had begun. I opened my eyes slowly. Everything looked the same, the room, the books, the little plant. But something inside me had changed. I breathed in slowly. Somehow, it didn't feel as heavy as it did last night. Not because the pain was completely gone, but because I had faced it. I didn't try to hide from the pain. I stayed with it. I let myself feel it. And now I was still here, still breathing, still standing, still me. That night didn't fix everything, but it helped me begin again. It reminded me that it's okay to break down, to fall apart, to cry when no one is watching, because healing doesn't always look strong. Sometimes it looks like quiet tears on a pillow in the middle of the night, and that's okay. The night I cried alone did make me weaker. It made me real, and in that honesty, I found a little light again. Story 2, The Love I Never Confessed. There was a person who quietly held my heart. He wasn't famous, he wasn't perfect. He didn't even know how much he meant to me. But for a while, he was the softest part of my world. We met through a friend. At first, he was just another voice in the room, just another smile in a group of people. But something about him stayed with me. Maybe it was the way he listened when someone talked. Maybe it was the way he made people laugh without trying too hard. Or maybe it was the way he looked at the world, like everything had a little bit of magic in it. I didn't fall for him in a single moment. It happened slowly, quietly, like falling asleep without knowing the exact second it starts. I didn't plan to like him. I didn't expect it. But one day, I realized I was thinking about him more than I should. And that's when I knew I loved him, but I never told him. At first, I thought it was just a small crush, a passing feeling, something that would fade after a few days or weeks. I told myself, it's nothing. You're just imagining things. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. Every time he spoke, I listened more closely. Every time he laughed, I smiled without meaning to. When he wasn't around, I noticed. When he was, the world felt a little lighter. The feeling didn't come all at once. It grew slowly, like a quiet song playing in the background. I started to care about the little things, what made him happy, what made him tired, what songs he liked, what dreams he had. And when he talked to me, even just as a friend, I felt special. Not because he said anything different, but because it was him saying it. I wanted to be near him. I wanted to be someone he could turn to, someone he could trust. But at the same time, I was scared. Scared that if I said too much, everything would change. Scared that I would lose the friendship we had. So I stayed quiet. I kept the feeling safe, hidden in my heart, where no one else could see it, and he never knew. I stayed quiet. Every time I wanted to say something, I stopped myself. I would open my mouth, then smile instead. I would look at him, then look away. I was afraid of changing everything. I was afraid of hearing something I didn't want to hear. So I chose silence. I listened to his stories. I was there for his happy days, and his bad ones too. I cheered for him, even when he didn't know I was cheering. I smiled when he talked about his dreams, and I stayed quiet when he talked about other girls. Those were the hardest moments. I remember one time he told me about a girl he liked. He laughed while talking about her. His eyes sparkled in a way I had never seen before. I nodded, smiled, and said, "She sounds nice," but inside, my heart was sinking. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to tell him it was me, that I had been there the whole time, quietly loving him. But I didn't. I couldn't. So I held the pain close. I hid it behind my laugh, behind kind words, behind long walks alone after seeing him. I told myself was enough to love him from a distance, that having him in my life, even just as a friend, was better than losing him completely. But some nights, the silence felt louder than any goodbye. Sometimes late at night, I imagined telling him. I imagined simple moments, walking beside him after class, sitting at a quiet coffee, or standing under a sky full of stars. In my mind, I looked into his eyes and said the words I had held inside for so long. I like you, more than a friend, maybe more than I should. In those quiet dreams, he smiled. He didn't laugh. He didn't walk away. He didn't break my heart. He just smiled and said, "I had no idea, but I'm glad you told me," and then maybe, just maybe, he would take my hand. Maybe he would stay. But those moments only lived in my mind. They were safe there. No risk, no rejection, just hope. I never said those words in real life. I was too scared, not of him, but of losing what we had. I was afraid that once I spoke my truth, everything would be different, and I wasn't ready to let go of him, even if it meant never being more than a friend. So I let the feeling stay hidden. I let the love live in silence, in dreams, in the spaces between what I felt and what I showed. Because sometimes loving someone in your heart feels safer than saying it out loud. Time passed. We drifted apart, slowly and quietly, like autumn leaves falling from the same tree in different directions. There was no fight, no goodbye, just life moving on. New people, new places, new stories. And still, he never knew how I felt. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had told him. Would he have smiled? Would he have said he felt the same? Or would I have lost him completely? I will never know. But even now, when I think of him, my heart does feel angry or broken, just quiet. There's a soft ache, like a gentle reminder of something beautiful that was never spoken. And honestly, I'm okay with that, because not every love has to be shared. Not every feeling needs to be returned. Some loves exist simply to teach us something, to show us how deep our hearts can feel, how quietly we can care, and how strong we are to carry it all in silence. He never knew, but I knew, and that was enough. It was real. It was pure. It was the love I never confessed. Story 3. How I moved on after breakup. I never thought we would end. I thought love, once real, would always last. I believed in us, in the laughter, the memories, the late night talks that felt like home. But sometimes, even when two people care deeply for each other, it's not enough to make things work. The breakup felt like a storm I didn't see coming. One moment, we were holding hands. The next, I was sitting alone in my room, staring at a message that broke my heart into pieces. I am sorry. I think we need space. That was it. No big fight, no shouting, just quiet words that shatter something inside me. At first, I couldn't accept it. I kept checking my phone, hoping he would text back and say he made a mistake. I read old messages, trying to find signs, clues, something to make sense of the ending. My mind wouldn't rest. It kept spinning in circles, asking why, how. When did we lose each other? I cried in silence, mostly at night when no one could hear me. I pretended to be fine during the day. I smiled when people asked how I was doing. I told them I'm okay, even though I felt like a part of me had gone missing. I felt hollow, like a house after everyone has left, still standing, but empty. The pain was quiet, but deep. Everything reminded me of him. The songs we used to listen to, the places we went, even simple things like the smell of coffee or the sound of his laugh in my memory. I couldn't escape it. And to be honest, I didn't want to, not yet, because holding on to the pain made me feel closer to what we had. But slowly, something shifted. I realized that healing wasn't about pretending the pain didn't exist. It was about facing it, little by little. So I let myself feel everything. The sadness, the anger, the confusion. I stopped judging my emotions. I cried when I needed to. I wrote letters I never sent. I talked to the moon. I allowed myself to grieve, not just the person, but the future I had imagined with them. One day, I did something small. I changed my bedsheets. It may sound silly, but it felt like a step, a clean start. I lit a candle. I opened the windows. I let the sunlight in, and I told myself, you are still here. You're still breathing. That means something. Then came other small steps. I went for walks without music, just listening to the world. I started journaling every morning. I made a playlist not of sad songs, but of songs that made me feel strong, even if I didn't believe it yet. I laughed again, honestly, for the first time in weeks, because of something silly my friend said, and in that moment, I realized life was still beautiful, even without him in it. Healing didn't come in a single moment. It came slowly in little waves. Some days, I missed him so much I couldn't eat. Other days, I felt light, almost free. And that's how it is, grief and growth holding hands. Now, when I look back, I don't feel hate. I don't feel broken. I feel thankful. Because that love, even though it ended, taught me so much. It taught me how deeply I can feel. It taught me what I want, what I need, and most importantly, how to come back to myself. I moved on not by forgetting him, but by remembering who I am without him. I moved on by choosing me every single day. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most powerful kind of love there is. If you find this video meaningful and enjoyable, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next videos. Thank you so much. Goodbye, and see you next time.